Hi and welcome to Best in Tesla. So we hear a lot about how Tesla is having trouble in China, but if we look at the numbers, the facts tell us another story. Tesla is a top 4 new energy vehicle company in China. None of the legacy automakers are even close, and new energy vehicles has just hit 44% of the market. If anyone is in trouble in China, it is the legacy automakers. Not the number 4 on the list of the best-selling new energy vehicles. And if you think the Chinese market is the most important market for Tesla, as so many analysts want you to believe, well, you would be wrong again. And I would like to show you this in this video as well. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. So, if we look to China, Tesla just sold 62,000 units just in April, including exports, and 30,700 for export, according to China Passenger Car Association's data released on the 10th of May. So Tesla sales still look strong to me. With all this going on and the refreshed Model 3 performance ramping up and so on, and the high interest rate, because if you listen to the mainstream media or the short sellers, it sounds like Tesla is gone in China because they might be a little bit down in 2024 compared to last year, because Tesla's retail sales in China in the January to April period were 163,841 units. Still a lot of units. This is more than what Xpeng and NIO sells in an entire year globally. But Tesla is down 7.6% year over year, but is still ranked number 4 with 6.7% market share. So Tesla is the 4th best-selling new energy vehicle manufacturer, including all the hybrids, in the biggest car market on the planet, against all the homegrown favorites. I think that qualifies as doing pretty well. But BYD, of course, is miles in front of everyone in new energy vehicles in China, having more than 34% of the new energy vehicle market. But even if we count all the ICE cars, BYD is still the biggest automakers in the first 4 months of this year. So that is very impressive. But new energy vehicles are also continuing their upwards trend, despite what many legacy automakers and analysts want you to believe. In April, China new energy vehicles retails hit 647,000 in April. Penetration reached a record high 43.7%. Yes, it is easy to try to paint a doom and gloom picture in China when we are in the beginning of a year, as this is China's lowest point of the year and a big drop from December numbers. But as you can see on this chart here, new energy vehicle has only been going one way, and that is up. Yes, it has a seasonal up and down, but the trend is as clear as day. We can take December numbers of every year and we can see a nice growth line through the last 4 years. If we look at this year's March and April number, they are actually higher than December numbers in 2022. So we should probably expect somewhere between 1.5 to 1.6 million new energy vehicles sold in China in December, if history of the last 4 years is anything to go by. So plug-in vehicles are doing great in China, still growing very fast, hitting new all-time high here in April with almost 44% market share. So it seems like BYD's CEO is going to be right about new energy vehicles hitting 50% here in 2024, as the growth is still very fast. Last year, in the first 4 months of the year, new energy vehicle market had a market share of 27%, and now in April we hit 44%. So it's not hard to imagine that within a few months we will have a 50% new energy vehicle market share in China. And BEVs are still the most popular new energy vehicles in China, with about 62% market share of the new energy vehicle sales. So no wonder someone like Mitsubishi have left China altogether last year, as they hardly make any EVs, and within a couple of months China will become a 50-50 on ICE vehicles versus new energy vehicles. So a really big turning point for the biggest car market on the planet is about to happen this year. By the end of the year, we could see more new energy vehicle sales than ICE sales. Bad news for legacy automakers that are not at this level of new energy vehicles in China at all. Could see not just a tough first quarter of 2024, but just a tough 2024 altogether, and 2025 could be even tougher for the legacy automakers. They will try to pump out as many hybrids in this period as possible to not lose too much market share at this given time. But I personally think this is a short-term game, as BEVs are still the most preferred plug-in vehicle, and as more and more people buy them, the more and more people will buy them. Butts in seats really matters, as more people will learn how much more convenient it is owning an EV compared to a pure ICE car, but also compared to a hybrid where you still have all the maintenance of an ICE car as well, but EVs do not. And EVs in China is on price parity with ICE cars already, as you can get a decent EV for $10,000 or even a crappy one for $5,000. There is really no reason in China anymore to not buy an EV, because we also have to remember the incentive that still exists in China. I just talked to people in Guangzhou about their EVs as I traveled there for my upcoming YouTube channel Best in Tech, and here there are only about 10,000 plates for an ICE car released every month in a city with 13 million people. You have to get in line to get a plate for your new ICE car. So the wait to buy one might not be long, but to be able to get a plate for it can take months or even half a year. Whereas there is no limit on the green plates for plug-in vehicles, and you get them basically straight away. And for the ICE plate, you pay about $8,000 more to get it. So that is one of the incentives China has, making the ICE cars more expensive to get. And this has been $10,000 in many cities before, so $8,000 is actually down from where it has been, but it's still a lot of money to save, and time as well, not having to wait to get that plate for your car. And with the price parity on the sticker price, well, the EVs just becomes a no-brainer. So yes, a lot of reasons to get a new energy vehicle in China, and not really any left to get a pure ICE cars in China anymore. So don't think we will see a slowdown in EV adoption as some of the legacy automakers are claiming, but we will continue to see the upward trend continue, and my guess is that in December we will have somewhere between 1.5 to 1.6 million new energy vehicles sold, leaving not much more than 1 million left for the pure ICE sales. But let's see how that one goes. But then there is the part of China being Tesla's most important market, as we have heard from so many analysts. Well, AJ on X has put together some great charts showing what is actually going on. So first of all, to close off the discussion about Tesla not doing great in China because they are behind in sales compared to last year, well, over the first 18 weeks of 2024, Tesla China tracks only 11,400 vehicles behind 2023. So we are talking about a lousy 11,000 units behind for a company that sold over 600,000 EVs in China last year. 11,000 is hardly a rounding error. And as you can see here on AJ's chart, Tesla is actually closing the gap. So this will probably be a non-issue in another couple of months. But what about the importance of China? Well, I would say the factory is one of Tesla's most important factories, as it is also Tesla's big export hub, and is not just selling to the local market. So in this sense, the factory is the most important one for Tesla. But the Chinese market is not as important as most analysts would like you to believe. The US market is actually over 2 times more important than China when it comes to revenue, as you can see on AJ's chart here of revenue by geography. And it is not even the second most important market. As you can see, if we combine the rest of the world, it is 1.5 times more important than China. Over 75% of Tesla's revenue comes from outside of China. But again, yes, the factory is the most important one, as they do export about 30% of the units they produce in China, so the revenue from the rest of the world on this chart does of course include a lot of vehicles from China. But the Chinese market itself is not Tesla's most important market. That is by far the US, and here there is almost no threat to Tesla, as Ford and GM are backing down and hardly making EVs. They make less EVs than the startups like Xpeng and NIO does, and Rivian is making some great EVs, but they don't expect to grow much this year and are selling less than what Ford and GM does. So no one is really threatening Tesla's dominance in the US market. It is more Tesla that is threatening the old guys, stealing more and more of the overall market share, and has now brought in a pickup truck to the market as well that is getting more attention than any F-150 has ever done. And they are ramping that one up very nicely with more than 1,000 per week already. So Tesla's most important market is not under any kind of threat at the moment. And the Chinese market is important, but not as important as many would like it to look like. And Tesla is not down as much either, as they also try to make it sound like. So I would say, once again, it is the legacy automakers that should be afraid. They are clearly losing in China as it goes rapidly over to new energy vehicles, and they are hardly present on the top 20 list of new energy vehicles. And the Chinese has taken back the crown of the biggest automakers in the country for the first time in decades. And the Chinese are not stopping here with China, as BYD's CEO just said. We are confident that we could be in a leading position. We are moving to the next stage to decide on a huge investment in the EU, which is expected to amount to billions of dollars. So what the Chinese have done in China, they are now trying to bring to Europe, taking the European automakers on their home turf. So far, BYD has not come with anything meaningful in terms of sales volume, but that is what they are working on to change. Tesla is still crowned the best-selling EV manufacturer in Europe by far, but according to BYD's CEO, they want to challenge Tesla on their status. So BYD is making strong early gains in Europe since sending its purpose-built ships to the continent earlier this year. So instead of the normal 2,000 to 4,000 units, their ship can carry up to 7,000 units. So they are not kidding around, and they are just getting started with this for the European market. So we should see BYD starting to get some momentum in Europe this year, or something else is definitely wrong. But BYD expect the company to triple its market share in Europe by 2024, so already next year. Well, that does sound good, but they are coming from almost nothing, so it doesn't really say much. BYD had 0.8% of the BEV market share in 2023, so to triple that would only mean 2.4% of the BEV market share in 2025. Tesla had 17.5% in 2023, just to have some context. So they still have a long way to go to catch up to Tesla in Europe, but let's see how they will do here in 2024. But more broadly, Chinese-made cars are expected to account for a quarter of all EV sales this year, 2024, according to research by Transport and Environment. So they will not be completely insignificant, but there are also a lot of cars that people probably don't look at as Chinese because of their brand, like Volvo, Polestar, MG, and so on. So the Chinese has already come to Europe. It's not like they are not here, it's just that there is no one brand that has really taken off and become a huge player in the game just yet, but combined they are already causing some damage to the European automakers. Almost a fifth, 19.5% of EVs sold in Europe last year were produced in China, or around 300,000 units. And combine that with Tesla's more than 250,000 units sold in Europe by themselves, well, the Chinese and Tesla has already taken sales away from the European automakers. As, 10 years ago, we did not have many Chinese ICE car sales here, and Tesla was basically non-existing as well. And the Chinese has only just started in Europe, but has already pushed some legacy automakers out of China, and the rest seems to be losing the market rapidly as well. So I still think the ones in trouble are the legacy automakers. Tesla is still doing very well, as they are the leader in the US, their most important market, and they are the leaders in Europe, and they are top 4 in China as well. and is only making the car of the future, while the old guys are losing their economy of scale of the ICE business and their profitable business, and they are losing in the EV race, and is now suddenly betting on hybrids. I think we are witnessing a big shift in the industry, as we did in the mobile phone market, as we shifted away from Nokia, Motorola, Sony Ericsson, BlackBerry and so on, over to Apple, Samsung and Google. Most of the old guys didn't survive, or is a shadow of the former self, as the new guys took over. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.